Well, his new name is Pope Leo XIV, formerly known as Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost. He is now the first American pope in the history of the Catholic Church.
Few people thought an American would ever lead the church, but now the 69-year-old Chicago native becomes the 267th pope in charge of leading the world's nearly 1.5 billion Catholics. White smoke announced his election after just 2 days of the cardinals voting. Pope Leo took part in his first mass as pope earlier this morning.
Yeah, while he is making history for the 60 million Catholics in our country, he has been called kind of the least American of the American cardinals. That's because the FAA are investigating a deadly plane crash in Marana.
And we know 2 people were killed when 2 planes collided over the Marana Regional Airport. That's where we find Blake Phillips joining us live now.
Blake, what do we know about the crash this morning? We know you were there yesterday gathering information. What do we know today?
That's exactly right, guys.
My family
Obviously.
and as I'm sure everybody, we want answers, and we won't rest until we have them. All the answers. We want all of the answers to every question you can think about.
It's been nearly 2 months since the tragic plane crash above Washington, D.C. 67 people died when a passenger plane and military helicopter collided in midair. But for their loved ones, the search for answers continues. Thank you for being with us this morning. I'm Claire Graham. Dan has the morning off. One of the people killed in the crash that day was Dustin Miller, who lived here in Tucson for more than 20 years. This morning, KGUN 9's Maria Staubs is sitting down with his sister, who says what their family wants now is clarity.
This is the 6 o'clock hour. Nearly 100 days into the second Trump administration, protesters across southern Arizona, they continue to group and make their voices heard as the president carries on with his cuts across the government.
And it's not just protesters. Politicians from our state and across the country are speaking up here in Tucson. Good morning, Tucson. It's Monday, April 14th. I'm Claire Graham.
I'm Dan Spindle. In his first 3 months in office, President Trump has put a number of federal agencies effectively in the crosshairs. Everything from national parks, the IRS, Department of Veterans Affairs, too.
Now a major shakeup is underway at the VA with more than 80,000 layoffs coming. Scripps News Group just got new internal documents showing these cuts will happen in phases throughout the end of the year. Phase 1 is already underway with voluntary.
This community is very indebted to him.
I think what I remember the most is that he's just really a genuine, humble person.
This is not the end of his journey, but only the beginning of his journey.
His unflinching commitment to justice would be the thing that I will personally take as an inspiration for the rest of my life.
We were very unique, very different, yet I think what we did share was a common interest and value in having conversations with people that you don't agree with.
And he inspired so many of us to embrace the fire within us.
He was a champion for all of us, and we're all feeling a great loss.
In the course of my career, I've gotten my hands dirty working on the problems of this community.
This morning, Tucson, southern Arizona, and the nation as a whole mourns the loss of Congressman Raul Grijalva, the man who served our community, served southern Arizona, and represented so many, giving so many a voice over the course of decades. Not just 20 years in the halls of Congress, but in various capacities, again, back when he was in his 20s, he began that journey. I'm Dan Spindle out here live outside St. Augustine Cathedral. Later on this morning at 10 o'clock, there will be a funeral mass, but that is just the beginning of what is a celebration of his life. We have team coverage here on GMT. We're going to be talking about traffic issues, road closures with Bree Pacelli of getting in and around downtown Tucson. If you plan on coming down here, Blake Phillips is talking about that celebration of life just down the road here, a few blocks away at El Casino Ballroom. And Claire Graham is back in the studio at KGUN 9. Let's get into it. We love sharing his life and legacy, talking about what the congressman meant to so many people. You heard many voices from different sides of the political aisle and from all walks of life on what he meant. Raul Grijalva, again, getting an early start in life to public service, 5 decades plus representing the people here of southern Arizona. Now, let's talk about the logistics of the service itself. We're going to have dignitaries here from the national level. Former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi will be here. Governor Hobbs will be here. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be here, among many, many others. And we mean representatives of the tribal nations. There were a handful represented within Congressional District 7 itself. himself, Tona Odom, Pasquayaki, and others. They will be here. His family and friends will be here. Again, this is a public event. It is open to the public. However, a space will be limited when you consider so many people who will be here. And again, kind of the iffy way of getting around when you consider sitting congressional delegations. Let's talk about what the congressman did in his life. Born near Amado, south of Green Valley, to a migrant worker family. That was those humble roots that you heard mentioned there that Raul Grijalva always held close, and he always felt he wanted to represent the people, the working people here of southern Arizona. In his 20s, 26 years old, gets on the Tucson School Board and then moves his way to the county level, County Board of Supervisors. But get this, folks, he had a school named after him in the 80s, nearly 40 years ago. So this is someone whose legacy, again, he really needs no introduction when you think about it. But I want to tell you on the national level what he means to progressive politicians moving forward into the future. Here's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, what the representative from New York said about him in just recent days.
I hope we all come together and ensure that we carry on Raul's vision and his commitment and legacy.
When you think of AOC, again, that's an acronym for her name. She has a brand nationally. Raul Grijalva perhaps was not known to those in other states, but again, a giant of a politician for the Democratic Party, especially from here in southern Arizona. Let's talk about the celebration of life, kind of that celebratory feel that will be at the El Casino Ballroom, where we find Blake Phillips this morning. Blake, what do we know about that event?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Congressman Grijalva not being super familiar across the country, but right here, where he grew up, where he came for balls and dances at the El Casino Ballroom. He had his 50th wedding anniversary here with his wife. This place is really just as much ingrained in the community as Congressman Grijalva's legacy. Now, what we know is that the celebration today is from 2 to 6, and like you said, Dan, going to be a lot easier to get down here. Still probably going to be pretty crowded, but it is completely general admission. We do know the Mayor of Tucson, Regina Romero, is going to be speaking here. Some other speakers are going to be here as well. We expect the family to be here around 1 or so. So this is really where everybody can come together without the hustle and bustle of downtown Tucson, the hustle and bustle of security, and it'll be much more relaxed of an environment. But I talked to Fred Martinez. He actually, him and his employees opened it up for us to get in here to get a look this morning. If you're from South Tucson, you know exactly about the El Casino Ballroom. If you're from the area, you've heard of it. It is very much just as big of a venue here in the community as Congressman Grijalva meant to it as well. So we know that he left behind plans to cater some of his favorite foods from local restaurants for later today. Like I said, the family going to be coming down here as well after the services this morning. But we're going to be on the ground down here and up in downtown Tucson all day long, bringing you the latest and really trying to celebrate the life of Congressman Raul Grijalva. Dan.
Yeah, and it is quite the life. So many facets to remember, and so many people who would like to pay that last respect. And again, celebrate. Blake Phillips reporting there. Let's talk about getting in and around downtown Tucson with Bree Pacelli, who's talking about some of the road closures, some of those issues where perhaps, again, it is a public event, the funeral mass. If you'd like to come down, just you have to be aware of what it's going to take, Bree.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, there's a lot to expect this morning as the funeral gets underway. So let's talk about road closures. We are seeing a couple road closures here. Right now, I am standing on Stone Avenue and McCormick. So Stone Avenue and Church Avenue, they will be closed today, starting from, again, where I'm standing right here, McCormick Street, all the way to Ochoa Avenue, or Ochoa Street, excuse me. So keep that in mind if you are traveling downtown today. And just like Dan said, this is a public event. So as far as parking goes, you can park at the TCC or La Placita Garage. So those are couple options for you, but also keep in mind that downtown is typically a pretty congested area as far as traffic goes. Now, the roads aren't closed right now. The roads will close at 8 a.m. today and will be closed for several hours until 1 o'clock. So again, keep that in mind. We're going to see hundreds of people downtown today. So if you are heading downtown to go to work or wherever you are going this morning, again, keep these road closures in mind. But again, the roads aren't closed right now. We've seen several cars driving through the area this morning. Let's bring in Athena Kehoe. Athena, roads are looking pretty clear right now. We're not seeing a lot of buildup or congestion at this time, but how are things looking across the rest of town?
Thanks, Bree. Yeah, across the rest of town, it is pretty slow morning right now, which, you know, you can't complain about. It's just about 6 a.m., so always good to see that there's not a ton of congestion yet. However, our neighborhood traffic network is showing us that there is a water line repair on Speedway, so if you do take Speedway regularly during your commute between Dodge and Alvernon Way, expect a few lane restrictions, but the city of Tucson said that this water line repair will be done today, so it's just supposed to be today with these lane restrictions there. But again, across Tucson, we are not seeing much congestion. Usually we do see a lot near like downtown Congress and Golf Links, but it is looking pretty clear right now. And your morning drive time, Speedway and Kolb to I-10 is about 14 minutes. Grant and Craycroft to I-10 is about 13. And we will look at your ADOT camera live on I-10 near 22nd Street, and it's looking good right now. And you know, this day is supposed to be looking pretty hot, April, right? So anyone driving or walking to the funeral should definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, even if they find a close place to park, you're just going to be standing out a lot. You know, it's limited, and so that's why we just stress so much. I mean, look, you can just look at downtown, and I don't even have to tell you. I mean, you got a lot of buildings, right? So you got a lot of concrete, you got a lot of pavement, and that obviously magnifies the heat. So if you're standing in that for periods of time, it can feel as much as 10 to 20 degrees hotter, and we're already going to be in the low 90s. So please stay hydrated, find ways to get into the shade, and just keep yourself cool. We've dropped to 68 right now, but again, that's all going to be kicking off right around 10 a.m. So those peak heat hours of the day between about 10 and 5 is when we're going to be the hottest. So just make sure that you're doing that right there, because we are going to continue to see temperatures well above average, 80s and low 90s. So that right there, those tips for staying safe. I know Dan and Blake are out there this morning, and it's still nice and cool, but I think you'll be seeing some more layers shedding as we get later into the morning. Hopefully they are drinking a lot of water, also staying cool, finding ways to have a little bit of shade. And we got a little bit of cloud cover out there, Dan, so we can hope that will give us a little bit of a break here and there as the sun is coming up, but we don't anticipate it to be thick enough to keep those temperatures down. So definitely drinking a lot of water, staying safe, and I hope that you're doing the same thing, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is it's just a gorgeous morning right now, nice and cool. And again, as you said, it'll heat up quickly. The funeral mass starting at 10 o'clock here behind me at St. Augustine. But you will have so many people down here. The parking situation might require you to walk if you're coming down to the cathedral itself. So we are going to continue to talk a lot more about Raul Grijalva, his life and legacy, someone who represented Southern Arizona for so many years, so many terms in Congress, but again, before that, starting in his 20s, representing people on the different levels of the county, the school board, and again, so friends and family and dignitaries will all be here from all walks of life, all across the political spectrum as well, to pay respects to this longtime sitting member of Congress. And we'll have a lot more of that, Claire. I know as a young reporter, I interviewed Raul Grijalva some, probably 16, 17 years ago. He came across as someone who was serious about the policies that he wanted to get through. Again, someone who took his role in his job quite seriously, but was a straight shooter. You knew what you got when you spoke with Raul Grijalva.
Very true. It was never a guessing game where he stood on any of the issues that he was passionate about. Dan, thank you so much. Let's look at some of your other headlines today as well. Now, with his funeral set to start in a few hours, loved ones have already started honoring the late congressman and his memory with the first of the services at another church across town. St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church held Grijalva's Rosary Prayer Service last night. It's a Catholic tradition to hold it on the night before a funeral mass. Grijalva and his family have been parishioners at the church for more than 50 years. Monsignor Raul Treviso has been the pastor there for more than 30 years and met Grijalva in 1972 while studying at the U of A. He then became his pastor as the congressman was raising his family just a few blocks away. Monsignor Treviso says our community is indebted to Grijalva for his 50-plus years of service.
I really don't have the words to describe the commitment he had to the work he was doing, trying to ensure that this community had what it needed.
Treviso says while the community is sad about the loss of Raul Grijalva, everyone should take comfort in knowing how much he has done for them. Grijalva's funeral mass again starts at 10 o'clock this morning, and you can watch the live stream of the service and our continuing special coverage right here on KGUN 9. When we come back this morning, we have more news and weather in your neighborhood, so stay with us. You're watching Good Morning Tucson.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for waking up with all of us here at KGUN 9. I'm Dan Spindle. Claire is off today. This morning, 12 people have already put their names into the hat to replace the late Raul Grijalva, who passed away last week after a long battle with lung cancer. Now, they are vying to represent Congressional District 7. It is one of Southern Arizona's 2 congressional districts. You see on the map, Arizona's largest district. It includes 5 counties, 4 tribal nations, and it runs along 350 miles or so of the southern border with Mexico. It is second only to a district in Texas for that size along the border. Now, Representative Grijalva represented the people here for his entire 22 years in Congress. More than 800,000 people, 442,000 registered voters. The majority in the district are Democrats, outnumbering Republicans nearly 2 to 1, 178,000 to 92,000. There are also, though, nearly as many independents at 164,000. One of the people running to replace Grijalva is Republican Daniel Gutierrez, who Grijalva beat in November.
I'm different than everybody else because I am from here and I'm not a politician. I'm just a working man, just like everyone else out there. I work for a living, I always have. I'm just tired of what's happening in our community, and I'm the guy that can fix it.
On the Democratic side, we do know one person who is not running, and that is Tucson Mayor Regina Romero. While she has not said anything yet, a political consultant we spoke with said Grijalva's daughter, Pima County Supervisor Adelita Grijalva, would do well in the special election that is coming up. Blake Phillips joining us now in studio to break down a whole lot. There's a lot to get to with this very blue district.
Yep.
Again, maybe some opportunity for Republicans, though, when you consider the large number of independents.
I mean, the most recent election, this one was the best that Republicans had performed, but it really didn't wind up being all that close.
Yeah,
like, those aren't
close.
the final numbers, but at the same time, it's a special election. And with special elections, they can get a little bit weird in the sense of you never know how they're going to turn out. That's really when you see upsets happen, is like, oh, it's a non-presidential term. There isn't a presidential race at the top of the ticket, or it's not a conventional midterm.
Right.
So you never know. Anyway, I sat down with the Pima County GOP, Kathleen Wynn. She's the new GOP chair. And she says, you know, the first step for them is paying respect to Raul Grijalva, somebody who gave their life to Southern Arizona, who dedicated the majority of their adult life to public service. But at the same time, this is a very fast-paced election process, and they're going to take this race seriously.
Look to see what do the people in CD7 want in terms of quality of life, in terms of safety, in terms of economy, jobs. This, again, is one of the poorest congressional districts. So what do we do to fix it for CD7? And I say it's time for new leadership.
And this is really going to be interesting to me, just how this all shakes down.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned 12 people had filed, 6 of those Republicans, 4 of those Democrats, 1 Libertarian, 1 from the Green Party, and that was just on day 1 of the filing process. So we don't know who's going to throw their name into the race. Adelita Grijalva, a lot of people are assuming. But
she's got the name recognition,
exactly,
certainly.
you know, but at the same time, she's mourning the loss of her dad. The whole family needs to go through that process, and that's what's weird with this, is how fast it's going.
Right. Yeah. So he will get his proper honor at that service next week, and then it feels like in earnest, the process will really pick up and start going. That service, you see the information there on your screen. That mass memorial service for Congressman Grijalva will be held next Wednesday, the 26th. At 10 o'clock in the morning. That'll be at St. Augustine Cathedral. Community gathering will take place after the funeral at El Casino Ballroom. So, Blake, thank you for that, kind of breaking that down for us. Newscast here. Tucsonans are back to voting today, not to elect a candidate, but to decide on Proposition 414. The outcome could impact city services, and it could impact your wallet.
And KGUN 9's Bree Pacelli joins us live at Udall Park now, one of the places where you can drop off a ballot today. Bree, what should people know for today's election?
Yeah, that is right. Today is election day for Prop 414, and it is the only thing on the ballot, which you should already know because there are no polls open for this election. It was an all-mail election, and today it is drop-off only. If approved, the city portion of the sales tax collected on a purchase would go from 2.6% to 3.1%, generating about $80 million a year. That money will go towards projects like affordable housing, police and fire equipment, and workforce development. Supporters like Tucson's mayor and first responder unions say the tax is needed to offset a drop in state funding, but others argue it puts too much of the burden on taxpayers. The city says if approved, the change would be small.
So if approved, people would see a small increase at the register when they pay sales tax. Of course, sales tax in the city of Tucson does not apply to food or rent, But if a person spends, for example, $2, they would see an extra penny added to the sales tax.
So there are several drop-off locations that you can go to throughout the day if you didn't mail in your ballot already. So you can come to 8 different locations across the city to drop off your ballot. They open at 6 a.m. and will close at 7 p.m. tonight. Guys?
Bree, thank you. Yeah, a different kind of election that we see all the time, so kind of a good thing to pay attention to. But like Bree said, it is too late to mail in your ballot, but there are several places where you can drop them off. Let's run through them. There's one location in each of the city's 6 wards. You can see all of the addresses on your screen right now. And like Bree said, they're open from 6 this morning until 7 tonight. All of these places can also give you a replacement ballot if you have lost yours, along with the Tucson City Clerk's Election Center. And then you can also drop off your ballot at the Pima County Recorder's Office or the Pima County Elections Department. And again, we have this full list on our website, kgun9.com.
Well, Bree mentioned it, but where exactly would the money from Prop 414 go? If it's approved, the new half-cent sales tax would raise a projected $800 million. This would be over a decade to help the city of Tucson. Now, where would it go? Let's look at the 5 categories here on this pie chart, including things like affordable housing. Now, nearly 2/3 of the new funding would go toward public safety investments, like a new combined Tucson police and fire station on the southeast side, and new equipment for both departments. Tucson Police Chief Chad Kazmar says that funding would be vital for his department since they spend most of their budget on personnel. He says it would let the police hire more officers and add new technology.
Prop 414 does have its critics, including some people who are specifically against this new police funding, and you can see what they have to say and all of our previous coverage on our website. It's on our 9 News Navigator. You can find it all right there. We have all of our stories pinned right to where they're happening on kgun9.com and the KGUN 9 app.
People are being forced out of their homes as firefighters work around the clock to get this blaze under control. Straight ahead on Good Morning Tucson, I'm live in Oracle to tell you the latest you need to know about the Cody fire.
Plus, how do you take over a marshal's office that's under investigation?
I want them to hold me accountable.
Why the interim Tombstone marshal is inviting community members into his office.
And if you're getting ready to hit the road this Memorial Day weekend, we've got some travel tips and a look at just how many people will be joining you. You'll want to stick around for that. Good Morning Tucson at 5 starts right now.
Connecting communities through your stories that inspire us. It's Good Morning Tucson.
And we say good morning, Tucson. It is Friday, May 23rd. I'm Dan Spindle.
And I'm Claire Graham. Thanks for being with us. This morning, the Cody fire south of Oracle has now grown to more than 1,200 acres. It's just 5% contained, and it's still forcing families out of their homes.
Yeah, a lot of people at work right now. This is an evacuation map of the town. You can see the fire burning to the southeast of Oracle on the north side of the Catalina Mountains. You can also see the nearby Cedar fire. That spot pinpointed there, small one, that one is mostly contained. Okay, zones 5 and 13 through 19, they are still in go status. That means you're out of your homes right now. That is the eastern part of the town and south of American Avenue. If you live there, again, you got to leave. Zones 1 through 4, which are north of American, 6 through 12 on the west side of town and the nearby town of San Manuel are on set status. You see kind of the growth of the fire and the direction. That's why San Manuel is really on alert. That means you should be ready to leave at any moment.
Now, there are places you can go if you've been evacuated. The Red Cross has set up a shelter at CDO High School in Oro Valley. You can also go to the Mammoth Community Center. But let's go to Bree Pacelli joining us live from Oracle this morning near the front lines of this fire.
Yeah, Bree, what are you hearing from firefighters there here as the dawn of a new day kind of brings another fight today?
Yeah, Claire, Dan, we know that firefighters have been working all throughout the night trying to build those containment lines, and they were hoping that the cooler temperatures and lower winds from overnight were able to get this fire under control or to help them get this fire under control. The Forest Service says that more than 350 crew members are currently out there on the front lines. Now, our K-Gun crews have been here following this fire since it started Wednesday afternoon, and we saw air tankers and helicopters here all day yesterday. The Forest Service is asking people to avoid this area. American Avenue and Veterans Memorial Memorial Boulevard towards San Manuel are only open to local residents at this time. We do know that buildings have been destroyed. This fire has really ballooned in size since starting Wednesday afternoon. The incident commander tells us it's spread faster than any other he's seen this year. Currently, around 1,100 people have already been forced and evacuated out of their homes, and around 300 more are currently on standby. Now, we are expecting to hear more about the containment and how many acres this fire has built later this morning, and we will continue to bring you those updates as we receive them. Guys.
Bria, that's really scary. It's a lot of people who are evacuating, clearly a huge undertaking to fight this fire. Let's hope that everything turns out better much sooner, you know. Thank you so much. Now, with so many people forced out of their homes, fortunately, we have heard countless stories about people being ready and willing to help wherever they can. We met John Simons while he was walking on the side of the road with his friend's rescued horse who wouldn't get into a horse trailer or wear a saddle. But John was going to make sure he got his friend's horse to safety. He says he knows it's been a stressful time for a lot of people, but he's trying to stay positive.
So you got to just relax and use your head, be on your feet, and don't worry about it too much. There's only so much you can do about certain things, so concentrate on the things that you can actually put your hands on, and everything will be all right.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. That's so sweet. On top of the community center, the town of Mammoth has also opened all of its park facilities to anyone who is evacuating.
What just a simple act there in the face of this. People are being forced to leave Oracle. Firefighters are there. They're on the front lines. They are trying to save homes right now. This is what it boils down to. This video from the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, it shows them doing just that, kind of setting those backfires as well, getting those containment lines. While we often do not see these people, we see the tankers, we see the airdrops from here on the ground. It takes careful coordination to make those drops where they help block the fire's progress and hopefully stop it in its tracks. We had a chance to talk to a tanker pilot, Adam Dimich. He's not working the Cody fire, but he says making those drops calls for precision work while he flies through the smoke and fights turbulence from those winds that are feeding the fires on the ground.
You know, we work for the boots on the ground, the guys and girls out there cutting line on the fire's edge. So we're totally there to support them, but they also need to be clear of the line that we're going to drop on when we go in to make the drop.
Dimich says flying tankers is a full-time job now that fires are happening really year-round. When he's not dropping on the fires, he's training to be ready to go.
And thank goodness. Now, as firefighters battle this fire, they're also trying to make sure another one doesn't start. That means you should forget about having a campfire if you're planning to hit up Mount Lemmon over Memorial Day weekend. There is an emergency order for the entire Coronado National Forest right now that says you can't light any wood or charcoal fires at all, even if they're in a grill or a barbecue. Just don't even think about it. It's okay to use a stove that burns bottled gas like propane, but it needs to be at least 3 feet away from anything else that could burn. The emergency fire prevention rules also say no shooting, even with air guns, and no using gas-powered tools like chainsaws. Now let's bring in Blake Phillips in for April Madison this morning.
This is where it all boils down to us being good neighbors, have fun, enjoy the outdoors, but just remember what they're doing right now. There's hundreds of people right now.
More work for these guys.
Yeah, they're fighting a fire, right?
Yeah, and the temperature really helped them out yesterday. The view from Mount Bigelow this morning.